So my transition from high school to college, it wasn't really difficult, but at the beginning I did experience like a few hiccups. Just from like guidance from like due to um not so well of guidance from like my advisors and stuff. So I can give you all a little backspill of what happened. So when I first came to college, we went through like our rendition, and that's our orientation. And during that time, we had to do a couple things like take placement tests, um, what else, register for classes and things of that nature. So that week went by, and once classes had started, I had realized that I was being placed in classes that were not like fitted for my major. So when I entered college, I was already considered a sophomore. So I was done with like my gen ed classes because I went to a middle college. I went to the middle college at Benton and graduated in 2017. I had 30 credit hours for college. In order to be considered a sophomore, you have to have 30 college credit hours. So my advisor pretty much, she put me in classes that were not fit for my major. And being that she did that, I had to switch into like other classes for my major a week late. And that was really bad for me because I didn't really know what was going on. I had to catch up. And we took a test the following week after I got placed in the class, and I failed the test, and my grade was an F in the class. So I had to work like really, really hard in order to bring my grade back up. And because I was like so stressed out about all of that, I started to you know, just just stressed out a little too much, more than I should have. But it kind of affected my health a little bit, and I was just like, no, I can't be going through stuff like that. So I made the decision to, just go ahead. I went to counseling, and I started to exercise a little bit, so that helped me. And that's part of the reason why I made this to become a resident advisor, because I had a very good resident advisor when my freshman year. So I was very grateful for her. She encouraged me a lot. She would always tell me how proud she was of me because of how I carried myself and how I handled my class situation, because that was really stressful for me. So that's pretty much it.
I can talk about in high school you have your parents, and in college you have yourself.
Right.
So can you talk about the distinguishing that piece?
So for me, I went to school. Well, being that Winston is like only 30 minutes away, I definitely like relied on my mom a lot. She couldn't do much but pray for me, stuff like that. But like just having like that good support system will help you like along the way. But some people aren't that fortunate in having that. So like that's why it's good that you all are in this program, to have people that are here for you and have the resource that can help you. So like with high school, like some parents are like very like hands on and making sure that you're like handling like your homework and stuff like that. In college, you don't have that. Like if you miss the assignment and stuff like that, professors are not really that lenient with you, and it's just like they're not gonna give you too many second chances, stuff like that. So you really just have to make sure that you're like on your stuff when you enter college. I don't want to scare y'all, but just make sure like you handling your business, and remember why you came to college. You came to get an education and pursue like a higher career goal or whatever the case may be. So just remember why you came there and don't lose focus.
I'm the college advisor at Ben L. Smith. And we're going to be talking about how to build your college list, which will be very important once you start going into the college application process. So just to start off, how many of you guys are thinking about actually going to college? Everyone, basically? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So just a little, let's see if it does it. Okay. Just a little about me. I am originally from Winston-Salem, and I was a student at UNC Chapel Hill. I actually graduated in 2017, so not too far removed from the college process. And while I was at Chapel Hill, I majored in African American, and diaspora studies, which, if you don't know what diaspora means, it's just basically like the study of Black people around the world. And then I also had a minor in education. So that's a little background about me. Also, I was a first generation college student, which means I was like the first person in my family to go to college and to graduate from college. And so right now, what I do as a college advisor is that I help students create post-graduation plans for them. So basically, if it's like, whether you're going to college, whether you're being employed somewhere, whether you're being going to the military, the students at the school work with me so that we can create a plan so that they can live their best life, right? So that you can have a plan after high school. So that's a little bit about what I do as a college advisor. So I do want to test you guys' knowledge a little bit about the college application process. So we're going to play a game called Truth or Not. So basically, I'm going to say some statements, and you guys are going to tell me whether you think it's true or not, okay? So first up, truth or not, only people with good grades and high test scores get into college. What do you guys think? True or not?
No.
You can just shout it out.
No.
No.
True.
You guys are right. So no. So you don't have to necessarily have the best grades or the highest test scores to get into college. Okay, so when we're thinking about college applications, there's multiple components that go into applying to college. So you do have your GPA. They are going to look at your GPA and your class rank. And when I say GPA, they're looking at your weighted GPA, right? And then they're also going to be looking at that GPA you have at the end of your junior year. So just keep that in mind, especially because a lot of y'all are in 10th grade. If your GPA isn't where you think you want it to be, like 10th grade is the time to turn that around. Because when you are applying to schools in the fall, they're not going to have your senior GPA. They're going to be looking at that GPA at the end of the 11th grade year. So whatever you have at the end of the 11th grade year is the GPA that you're going to be using to get into schools. Okay? And then they're also going to be looking at test scores. So everyone's heard of like the SAT or the ACT, right? If you are a junior, you've probably taken the ACT this year. If you are in 10th grade, you probably took the PSAT, which is like a practice test. So everyone is going to end up taking the ACT and the SAT. And these are what colleges call standardized test scores, okay? So once you get into junior year, everyone takes the ACT for free with the school. And then when you get into your senior year, you can take the SAT and the ACT up to like 2 times for free if you have a fee waiver. And I would suggest that you try to take it as many times as possible, at least 2 times for each test, because the more you take it, the better your scores get if you study. That's a big if you study. But schools do look at your test scores unless the school specifically says that they're test optional. An example for a test optional school is Guilford College. So Guilford College doesn't look at test scores, but they will say, instead of giving me a test score, submit an essay. So some schools are test optional and they won't require for you to submit test scores, but you have to, it depends on the school that you're trying to go to. Other schools also may require recommendation letters. So this is basically a letter from like a teacher, a coach, a community member, like Alana, someone you've worked with for a long time. Don't make that face, Alana. Someone you've worked with for a long time that really knows who you are and can speak to like how amazing of a student you are. And not every school requires a recommendation letter. So basically you would ask that person for a recommendation letter way ahead of time. Don't wait to the last minute to ask for recommendation letters, and they would write that recommendation letter to the school. You will typically never see this letter. So I always tell people to make sure when you're picking people to write your recommendation letters that they actually know you, like on a personal level. because you won't be able to see what they write about you, right? So you want to make sure you're picking people who can make you look and sound really good, okay? Also, an essay. Some schools require an essay. Some schools don't. Like I know, for example, like Winston-Salem State doesn't require an essay for admissions, but Chapel Hill did require an essay. Actually, they require like several essays. Now, when I say essay, I don't mean like a 5-page paper. They don't want a book. Typically, an essay looks like anywhere from 250 words to maybe 750 words. So it's not a lot. If anything, you'll struggle to answer the prompt in such a short amount of words, such a little amount of words. So I also tell students, if the application says that the essay is optional, it's not optional. Always do the essay if they offer you the ability to do the essay. I say this because let's say you get into your senior year and your GPA isn't where you want it to be, your test scores aren't that high, the essay can give you an advantage in the process. All right, so that essay can explain why your test scores aren't high. That essay can explain why your GPA isn't high. If you got suspended, which colleges do ask about your discipline records, that essay is your chance to explain, yeah, I got suspended, but I've grown from that. This is what happened, right? So colleges understand that we are people and that things happen. You may have had a low GPA because you had something going on in your life. So you can use that essay to kind of add a personalized touch to your application, and it makes you a better applicant in the sense that you're like not just a number to them, right? It adds perspective to who you are as a person. So always do optional essays if you're offered the opportunity. And then they also look at the rigor of classes. So like, are you taking IB classes? Are you taking AP classes, honors? If you're in middle college, they look at that. And then they also look at extracurricular activities. So are you in photography club? Are you doing sports? If you work a job, that counts as an extracurricular activity. So if you're working a job instead of doing like clubs at school, put that on your application. Also, if you are in a situation to where like, you know, you have to care for your siblings and you aren't able to work or you aren't able to do activities after school, put those things on your application or in your essay, right? So they really just want to see that you're doing something outside of the classroom. That's basically what extracurricular activities are for. They want to see that you're a well-rounded, can't say the word, well-rounded student, and that you are doing something outside of the classroom. So that's basically what they're looking for. So yeah, these are going to be your components of the application. And like I said, it may vary a little bit by school, but for sure, every school is typically going to ask for your GPA and at least a test score. Okay, moving on. So truth or not, I have to know my major or career before I can go to college. What do you guys think? Truth or not?
No.
Nah.
No.
So you guys are right. Nah, y'all on it, right? So you do not have to know your major or career before you can go to school. However, you do have to have a plan, right? And you have to be prepared. So no one is expecting you at like 17 or 18 years old to have your life figured out. Like that's just unrealistic. But you are expected to start making goals. You are expected to start learning your passions, like what makes you happy, what do you want to do with your life? And then you're also expected to start creating a vision for your life, right? So as long as you have a vision and you have goals, we can create steps to get you to where you want to go. But when you don't have any of that, you kind of just like in the wind, you don't know what's going on, it's going to end up catching up to you, right? So I always say the worst plan is to have no plan. Even if the plan that you create for your life doesn't always work out, which is like typically what happens in life, to be real, not everything you want to do works out, but you at least have some type of direction, right? So it's all about having some type of direction, and that's going to make the college process a lot easier to navigate. Okay, so next, truth or not, college isn't always as expensive as it seems. What do you guys think? Truth or not?
No.
No? Someone says no?
No.
No?
No.
So truth, college isn't always as expensive as it seems. So what are some prices that we've heard about college? Throw out some like prices that y'all heard about how much college costs.
60,000.
60,000. What's some other prices we've heard?
In like the 70,000s with the scholarship.
Ooh, 70,000, right? So that's a lot, right? When you hear 70,000 or 60,000, typically that is a lot of money, and typically no one has that just laying around just to use for college, right? But those 70,000 or 60,000 prices or 40,000, those are what we call a sticker price for a school. And typically, once everything like your financial aid and things like that go through, you typically never end up actually paying the sticker price, right? And there's multiple factors to go into that. So say for like example, Guilford College costs like $50,000 a year. But typically once your accounts are charged, it's going to be a little under 50,000. It's not going to be exactly 50,000 or above that or anything like that. So the prices of school and what you pay kind of depends on the housing that you pick, the meal plans and other factors like that. But it also depends on your scholarships, right? So having a good GPA and test scores are so important because they allow you to get scholarship money. And scholarship money is how you're going to eat away at the price of college, right? That's how you're going to be able to go to college and be like, I'm not paying anything out of pocket. It's because you're getting scholarships. Specifically, merit scholarships come from having good GPAs and test scores. So once you get into like your senior year, you can start typically applying for merit scholarships for the school specifically, but you can start applying to scholarships as like in the 9th grade, in the 10th grade, in the 11th grade. You can start applying to scholarships now. So don't necessarily wait to your senior year to start the scholarship application process. And I've put on there some websites that I have my students use. So FastWeb is a really good place to look for scholarships. CFNC.org is a really good place to look for scholarships. And then collegeboard.org is also a really good place to look for scholarships. And a little thing with College Board is that they actually have what's called an opportunity scholarship. So you are eligible for scholarships every time you complete certain tasks. So for example, when you complete your FAFSA, you get eligible for another scholarship. When you go on College Board and build a college list, you get put into a pool to win a scholarship. And people do win these scholarships. I've had 2 of my students won a scholarship from College Board just by doing certain tasks. So please start on that process now. And if your GPA is kind of low, try to work to bring it up, because the higher the GPA is and the test scores are, the more opportunities you have for merit scholarships and institutional aid from the schools that you're trying to go to. So college doesn't necessarily have to always be unaffordable. There's ways to make it more affordable for you. And also when you get into your senior year completing FAFSA, which is basically like applying for federal aid, will actually help you qualify for different types of financial help also. So keep that in mind. Okay, so when it comes to building college lists, right, I always try to put it in the framework of like finding the right college is like finding a bae, right? So it takes time and it takes commitment. It's not going to be like an easy process. What you put into the process is what you get out of the process, okay? So ideally at the end of your senior year, we want you to be happy like Ella is here, how in love she is with the dude. That's how we want you to be with your college, right? But you're going to have to put the time in, and you're going to have to make a commitment to putting in the work, okay? So we're going to talk a little about building a college list. So when it comes to building a college list, we think about it in the way of match and fit, right? You're trying to find a school that you match to and a school that you fit with. So when we're thinking about match, what that means is, do you have what the school needs? So when you think about a school that you're matching with, do you have what the school needs? That's what you're thinking about, right? So does your GPA match what is required by the school? And does your SAT and ACT score match what is required by the school? Okay? And so for most public schools, they typically require a minimum 2.5 GPA, and that's a weighted GPA again, and then a 17 ACT and an 880 SAT. Okay, now because of everything that's going on, those requirements may change a little bit. They've shifted a little bit because of COVID-19. But from what I do know, a lot of schools are sticking with that 2.5 GPA. Like you got to have at least a 2.5 GPA. They may give you a little flexibility on the scores, but don't like just go on the SAT and ACT and just wing it and think you're still going to get into school. So do take those scores seriously, but they're going to be strict on that GPA requirement for most schools, okay? So that's what match means. Match means, do you have what the school needs? Now, when it comes to fit means, does the school have what you need, right? So this is about your desires, your needs, what you're looking for in a college community. So does the school have the major that you want to major in? Does the location and the sides fit what you desire to go to college for? Is the school private? Is the school public? Is it a HBCU? Is it a PWI? Like things like that is what we're thinking about. Does the school match your financial need, right? So I tell people all the time, just because you want to go to the school and it's your dream school, if they're not giving you any financial aid, I would not suggest going just because you love it that much. Do pay attention to the financial need, your financial need, and what the school is offering you financially on your financial aid package. So do take into account the money that you're going to have to be paying for school. But that's what fit means. So once again, match is, do you have what the school needs? And then fit is, does the school have what you need? So that's how we're looking at schools when we're building our college list, okay? And then secondly, when we're building a college list, we're gonna put schools on the list that match these three categories. So you're gonna have your reach schools, you're gonna have a target school, and you're gonna have a safety school, okay? So reach school is what I consider to be like the dream school. It's like you've wanted to go there your whole life. It's kind of a reach, and it's a reach because your grades and your test scores put you in the 25 percentile of the students admitted and enrolled at the school. So that's why that's a reach school. So say, for example, you have a 2.5 GPA and you come to me and you tell me, hey, I want to go to Chapel Hill. I'm going to tell you that's a dream school. That's a reach school because the GPA requirement for Chapel Hill can be like a 4 point something and your GPA is a 2.5. You see, like your GPA is going to put you in a bottom 25 percentile of the students that are going to be admitted or enrolled into the school. Alana, stop doing that. Did that sound harsh? Right? But that's just the reality of it, right? And then you're going to have your target schools. So these are what I call like your relationship goal schools. You guys fit perfectly together. It's like you were a match made in heaven, right? And that's because your test scores and your grades put you in the middle 50th percentile of the students enrolled and admitted into the school, right? So if like UNC Charlotte requires a 3.0 GPA, you got a 3.0 GPA. Y'all are good. You probably going to get in. It's going to be easy. You're going to be fine, right? So those are your target schools. And then you have your safety schools. So these are what I consider like the nothing but net schools, because every time you shoot your shot, it's going to go in. It's going to be fine. So your grades and your test scores are going to put you in the top 10 percentile of the students admitted and enrolled in the school. So this is like having a 4.0 GPA and you're trying to go to UNCG. You're going to get in with a 4.0 GPA. You're going to be fine, because you're put in that 10 percentile or higher of the students that are admitted and enrolled into the school. So when you're building your college list, you want to make sure you have a diversity of reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. And okay, so now that you guys have kind of learned about what it means to build a college list, how to match yourself to a college, we're going to kind of play matchmakers a little bit. So we're going to have some scenarios, and I want you guys to tell me whether that person should shoot their shot at the school or should they not, okay? So, first person, this is Kim. I hope y'all know Kim. I think y'all old enough to know Kim. But this is Kim. Kim has a 3.7 GPA. Her SAT is 1100. Her ACT is a 22. She's a social butterfly. She wants to go to a large school and she loves the city, right? And then she wants to go to UNC Charlotte. So UNC Charlotte's average GPA is a 3.8. Average SAT is an 1130. Average ACT is a 22. It's located in Charlotte, North Carolina, which we know is really big. And then it also is the third largest school in the UNC system. So should Kim, with her academics and what she wants in school, should Kim shoot her shot at UNC Charlotte or not? What do you guys think?
I think she should shoot her shot.
She should shoot her shot, yes? Okay, let's see if Kim should shoot it. So yes, Kim should definitely shoot her shot. And this school, UNC Charlotte, for Kim, would actually be what we would consider a target school, right? because her test scores and her GPA matches the average test scores and GPA of what UNC Charlotte would want in a student. So Kim should definitely shoot her shot. I would tell her to apply. Kim would probably get in. She would be living her best life in Charlotte. All right. So moving on. This is Huey. Y'all know Huey? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So Huey has a 2.8 GPA. He has a 1200 SAT, a 24 ACT. Now, Huey is a bit of a loner. He doesn't like big crowds, like big schools like that. So he wants to go to a smaller school, and he also wants to be a physical therapist, right? So Huey is thinking about applying to Guilford College. Guilford College has a 3.1 GPA requirement, a SAT score of 990, an average ACT score of 18. It's a private school, has about maybe 1,400 undergraduate students, so it's pretty small, but it doesn't have a physical therapy major. Should Huey shoot his shot at Guilford College or not? What do you guys think?
No.
He shouldn't shoot his shot.
No? I'm hearing a bunch of no's. Okay, so let's see. Yes, Huey should still shoot his shot. Now, for the people who said no, why did you guys say no? Because y'all was quick with it.
It didn't have a major.
It didn't have
doesn't
his major.
Right. So a lot of people think because a school doesn't necessarily have your major, you shouldn't apply. And I say think about that in a different way per se, right? So for example, Guilford College doesn't have a physical therapy major, right? But a lot of schools don't have a physical therapy major. Typically that may be something you do in grad school. However, there are different ways to get to the career that you want to be in. There's different majors that you can major in and still end up in the same career field. So no, he can't major in physical therapy, but he can major in biology, he can major in chemistry, he can major in exercise and sports science, and that can still get him into the physical therapy field. So just keep that in mind when you're applying to schools. Just because a school doesn't necessarily have the exact major that you want to major in doesn't mean it doesn't have other majors and minors that you can take that will put you in the same career field, okay? Because everything else he matched with. So just keep that in mind. There's different pathways to get to the same destination when it comes to majors, okay? So that's why he should shoot his shot. All right, so last one. This is Dora. Okay, so Dora has a 4.7 GPA. She has an ACT score of 19, an SAT of 950. She wants to be far away from home because right now she lives in Winston-Salem, but she wants to be far away from home. Dora the Explorer, it goes together, right? And then UNC Chapel Hill is her dream school. And then she wants to major in criminal justice to become a detective. Now, she wants to go to Chapel Hill. So Chapel Hill is located about an hour and a half from Winston. The average GPA requirement is a 4.6. The average SAT is a 1270, and then the average ACT is a 28. However, Chapel Hill does not have a criminal justice major. Should Dora shoot her shot at Chapel Hill or not? What do you guys think? Should she shoot her shot?
She could try.
She can try.
You should try.
She should try. Okay, so let's see if she should shoot her shot. I say no. If Dora was my student at Smith, I would tell her to let it go, sis, okay? So this is why I would tell her to let it go, right? So although she has a 4.7 GPA, which is amazing because Chapel Hill wants a 4.6 GPA, her ACT and her SAT scores are really, really low, right? So Chapel Hill wants a 1270 on the SAT and a 28 on the ACT. But she only has a 19 on the ACT and a 950 on the SAT. So just because her GPA is high, that would be good. But because her SAT and ACT scores aren't necessarily where they need to be, she would probably 9 times out of 10 not get in, right? So just keep in mind, just like when you're looking for schools, you're looking for like a well-rounded school, you're looking for like the perfect match, the perfect fit. Just like if you're looking for a bae, you're looking for the perfect match, the perfect fit, right? Colleges are doing the same thing when they're admitting in students. So you got to be the whole package. So you can't just have a high GPA and think you can get into any school. You also have to have the test scores to match it. Okay, so Chapel Hill 9 times out of 10 would probably deny her. Now, say if her ACT score was like a 26, I would tell her to apply, and 9 times out of 10, she would either get in or at least get waitlisted, which a lot of people who are waitlisted still end up getting into the school. But with the ACT of 19 and they're requiring a 28, 9 times out of 10, sis gonna have to let that go because they wouldn't admit her. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're the full package when you're preparing yourself academically to apply to schools, because that's what they're going to be looking for, is well-rounded students. All right. So some last minute little pro tips about building your list, kind of mirroring what Jakara said earlier. Please get started on the process very, 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 very early, right? So start on it. If you're in 9th grade, start looking at it now. If you're in 10th grade, start on it now, right? Because if you're waiting to senior year to just now get started on the process, you're already kind of behind on the game. Okay, so especially if you're trying to, like, if you don't even know what school you want to go to and you're a senior, you're gonna kind of be behind on the game. So it's better to get started on the process as early as possible, right? And so when you're building your college list, I would say put at least 5 schools on the list. So you need at least 1 reach school, you need at least 2 target schools, and 2 safety schools. All right, so you want to make sure that list is balanced, though. You don't want like all 5 schools being a reach school. You don't want all 5 schools being a safety school. So create a good balance in the list of colleges, and you can have more than 5 schools on your list. That's fine. You can apply to as many schools as you want to, but I just, as a base standard, I say at least have 5 schools. At least apply to at least 5 schools. That gives you a good chance to get into different schools and have options. Okay, and then also, one thing you can start doing now is doing research on your schools, right? So sites like collegeboard.org, I don't know if your counselors have told you about that, but College Board is a really, really good website. It's a really, really good tool to have resources from. So College Board actually has on there where you can look up the schools that you want to go to, whether they're in North Carolina, whether they're like out of state, and you can look up the requirements. You can add it to your college list. You can see what they require as far as essays, recommendation letters, so that you can start preparing those things, right? And then also taking college tours. So someone said earlier that they went to Guilford College, which I think is really cool that you're already doing college tours, right? So if you have the opportunity, please tour the schools that you're thinking about going to. A lot of times you don't have to pay any money to tour a school. You just got to have the time and availability to go, but you don't have to pay any money. And also, I know you guys said some of you are at Dudley, and Dudley for sure has a college advisor. So as far as Greensboro is concerned, the 2 schools that have college advisors are Dudley and Smith. So if you're at Dudley, go see Miss Spurgeon. She is your college advisor. She is amazing, a good friend of mine. She can help you with this, and you can try to sign up for college tours so that you can go visit different schools. And then also just be open-minded about the process. Be realistic with yourself, and then also be consistent. So I know when you get into senior year, you have senioritis, you don't really want to do nothing, but you have to stay consistent within the process, because that's what's going to help you. And then also be realistic with yourself. So like I said earlier, don't create a whole list of dream or reach schools, and then next thing you know, you get denied from all those schools, and then you don't have anywhere to go. So create a balance so that you don't have to face so much disappointment just because you weren't being realistic with where you can actually attend school, right? And then also be open-minded. So a lot of times, like, kids may not get into the school they really, really want to go to, but it doesn't mean you have to give up on the college process, because to be honest, I didn't necessarily want to go to Chapel Hill. That was not my first choice school, but that's where I ended up. So I'm like a firm believer of, like, you don't necessarily end up always where you want to be, but you end up where you need to be, right? So just keep that in mind. Be open-minded. Be willing to apply to different places that you may not have thought of, but places that could be a good fit for you. And don't be so stuck on what you want that you can't accept things that you actually need as far as the college going process.